Here's Michael at the foul line. A shot on Elo. Good! The Bulls win! A spectacular move by Michael Jordan.
Legends start from somewhere.
5 seconds to go. Magic with a hook shot. Scores with 2.
Moments sprinkled through time.
Back out to Allen. His three-pointer. Bang! Tie game with 5 seconds remaining. Bryant for the win. Bang! They get it to Fisher. He scores! Derek Fisher scores!
But on the Hoopers log, we don't blink.
All I have in this world is a pistol and a promise, a fistful of dollars.
Ori for the win! George got the step and stuffs one move and counts on the foul. He beat LeBron James. That's a three. How about that? And the steps over Tyronn Lue.
For NBALead.com and for all of 2017.
Irving spins, puts up the shot. It's good! Kyrie Irving with 3.4 remaining.
You're inside the Hoopers log.
Irving and Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good! Kyrie Irving from downtown! And the Cavaliers by 3.
Now here's your host, Chris Morrison, a.k.a. Simo Buckets.
Welcome on into the show, everybody. It is the Hoopers log. You are inside it right now on January 5th, 2017 for Thursday, episode 18, excuse me. You're here. Episode 18, Thursday again. We're in the dog days of the NBA. I mean, the dog days in other sports are late in the year, but here in the NBA, it is right around now all the way up until the All-Star break. This is when you start seeing guys take breaks. You start seeing guys kind of go into kind of autopilot, trying to find a way to stay healthy, get to the gym on time, all that. It is a grind mode type time in the NBA where everyone's at about 35 games. Got about a week and a half, 2 weeks until halfway point of the NBA season. It's that time of year, and we're here on the Hoopers log. We're grinding as well. It is those of you watching live on Periscope, listening or watching on YouTube as well. It's cold, man. I don't know about you, but it's about 40 degrees in this garage, and I'm getting all the heat I can from this side heater and whatnot, but it's a good time, and we're here talking basketball in the great state of the Pacific Northwest. Again, you can check us out on NBALead.com. We're presented by Fan Essentials. We're also available through iTunes, Stitcher, and also, like I said, when we're live, you can check us out on Twitter, on Periscope, at the Hoopers log. And for those of you following live or watching the replay of this, definitely feel free to check us out for when we're live in the future. We do shows on Tuesdays and Thursdays. That might change come February, but for now, that's what we're doing. And we're doing that on a daily basis. Today is a Rank 'em Thursday. I normally don't rank players on my show, but since we don't have very many topics to get to, and we got a special guest later on in our second segment coming up, I figured I'd do some ranking. I know people like to hear that from time to time, and I'm going to talk about the top 10 point guards in the NBA and who I have, and definitely a debate for who's there and who's not there. So again, if you want to get started, let's get it going. Kevin Hart, as we always do here on the Hoopers log, he gets it started. Let's go.
All right. You're going to learn today.
Before I do my top 10 ranking, the one thing I wanted to say before I get into it is the Steph Curry conversation. Look, I don't want to be the one to pat myself on the back, and I need to follow through with the New Year's resolution and not bash Curry. I'm not going to bash Curry anymore. He doesn't deserve that. He's been a unanimous MVP, 2-time MVP, NBA champion. No one deserves to be ripped like that. Curry is the greatest shooter of all time. Why would I need to rip him? Why do I need to do that? I'm not going to. But what I do want to say is that as of right now, a year ago today, Steph Curry is just a guy who has just dropped off significantly. Now, there's multitudes of things like that. You got a guy like Kevin Durant, who is now within the fold of the team. You have a circumstance where Curry is not the focal point of the offense anymore. Curry does not need to carry as much of a load as he needs to on off nights for his other guys that Kevin Durant does now. Also, I think Curry's kind of fallen into the whole Klay Thompson thing, where Klay Thompson struggled early on in the year. And now Steph Curry is in that same scenario right now, I think just season-long wise, at least from what we've seen so far, that he hasn't dropped off significantly like Klay, but he's dropped off to the point where he is not even in a conversation throughout the league anymore. I mean, yeah, he's a great player. I still think, in my opinion, he's a top 3, top 5 point guard in the game. Easily. No question. But from the standpoint of being a focal point and the key component to the main excitement in the league, he's not that anymore. He's just not. And a lot of the things I talked about last year on my show on CLNS Radio, my former affiliate in Boston, is that Steph Curry was a guy who, look, exciting, everything you can imagine watching. You can relate to him, a small guy. But from the standpoint of him being a pure point guard and a guy who could do this for a long time, I mean, the proof's in the pudding. The guy has been in the league for a very long time. I mean, not very long time, but he's been in the league for 8 years. And the guy, previous to the last two, had health problems. That's just how he was. That's just who Steph Curry was prior to his injuries. And I think some of the injuries he faced in the playoffs this past year, and I think some of the issues that he's now facing with Kevin Durant on the team and some of the issues going on, I think that's contributing to his struggles. But he is not the same player we all thought he was a year ago when he won unanimous MVP. He's just not. And with that being said, I'm going to go into my top 10 point guards. And again, there's a whole bunch of conversation we can have over Steph Curry, but I just feel like I needed to be said before I rank my top 10. So here we go. The top 10 point guards in the NBA that I have. Number 10. And this is a tough one because let me tell you, there's about 15 legit point guards in the NBA, and many of them could potentially be all-stars in the given future. But I have Mike Conley at number 10. The Memphis Grizzlies did not sign Mike Conley to that deal that he's got in the offseason for nothing. He is one of the more consistent point guards in the league. Yes, does he stay healthy all the time? Not really. He's been hurt a lot lately over the last couple of years. Not a lot like gone, but he's just been nicked up and dinged, but that's going to happen. But he gets dinged up pretty good when he gets dinged. But he is, when healthy, a top 10 point guard in my opinion. He controls the ball. He's a pure point guard. He's a pure passer. I think he's fantastic, and I think he's definitely in that conversation for being all-star worthy on multiple. I mean, he's always on a fringe all-star conversation. When you're in that edge of the top 10, you're always a fringe all-star, and that's Mike Conley most definitely. Number 9, this guy has elevated his game to the next level. He's the leader on this team. He's making them a for-real conversation, and that's Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker is a guy where last year you would not have put him in the top 10. You would have had guys such as probably Eric Bledsoe. You would have had guys, maybe Rajon Rondo still. I know Derrick Rose was not healthy. You would have Eric Bledsoe. Maybe Tony Parker might sniff that top 10. Ricky Rubio. There's a whole bunch of guys you can mention that could sniff the top 10. But Kemba Walker has jumped in that. He has played some significantly impactful basketball for the Charlotte Hornets, and he has been he's the old Kemba from Connecticut. Every time I watch him play now, I'm just like, that's literally Kemba from Connecticut. He's just better. He's just NBA version better now. So Kemba Walker I have at number 9. Number 8, and I know with recently what he's done, people are going to go off, especially in Boston, are going to be like, what are you saying? What are you saying? But yes, Isaiah Thomas is number 8. The reason why he's at number 8 right now is because he's playing a lot like Steph Curry from the standpoint of he's just a scorer right now. I mean, when he scored those 52 points in Boston about a week ago, it was sensational, but that's all he did. He didn't do anything else. And from a point guard perspective, it's sensational scoring the ball. He's great closing out. He's great. He's tiny. He's talented as all get up. I love him. He's definitely top 10. But the guys in front of him have just proven themselves over a longer period of time. And Isaiah Thomas is getting there. Don't get me wrong. He has room to jump up. But from the standpoint of a guy like, guys are about to mention, he's just not there yet. And the guy I have in front of him is Kyle Lowry. Kyle Lowry is consistent. He has been the way he's been the last 2 years, almost 3 years now in the NBA. And he was a straight-up dog. Like, his first 6-7 years in the league, he was a nobody. And over the last 2 to 3 years in this league, he's turned into somebody who's become a reliable, all-star worthy type player, and he does it on a nightly basis. I look at his stat line every night, and he's a guy who'll get you 20 and 10 almost nightly. Almost nightly. And that's huge. And the Raptors haven't had that in forever prior to him, and he's definitely deserving of a guy who's in front of a guy like Isaiah Thomas. Definitely debatable between him and Lowry right now, Isaiah Thomas, but I have Lowry in front of him right now. Damian Lillard I have at 6, just strictly scoring. The guy, look, people talk about Isaiah Thomas and his scoring and whatnot, but Damian Lillard is a monster offensively. I mean, you can put him in the same category as Steph Curry. If not, I mean, I've made the debate last year that Steph Curry and Damian Lillard, outside of shooting the three ball, are pretty much the same players scoring the basketball. I mean, and you can make the case on some nights Damian Lillard shoots the ball better than Steph, which is saying something because Damian Lillard is sensational scoring the basketball. Defensively, definitely needs to improve, but his offense is so elite and so good that this guy has been robbed of all NBA teams and all-star games. He is way better than what they're saying he is, and I think he's definitely number 6 in my opinion. In the top 5, you always got to start off with John Wall. Look, John Wall, every single night, you can say what you want about his team and the talent they have around him and whatnot and what have you, but every single night he puts up 12-plus assists. It feels like he's scoring in the double, almost 25 points a game, it feels like, on a nightly basis. In fact, he just won Player of the Month in the Eastern Conference, averaging 24.5 points, 10-plus assists, and 2.5 steals. Defensively, he's a dynamo. He's just an absolute monster and a talented freak, as we all know, and one of the fastest players in the NBA. You have to put him at number 5. He's just an elite, absolute elite basketball player. Number 4, Kyrie Irving. I think he's the best point guard in the Eastern Conference. He jumped John Wall over this past year, in my opinion, just based on his championship pedigree and what he's done. Get into the finals the last 2 years. Obviously hitting game winners against the Golden State Warriors, being clutch. His his moves off the dribble. He is just turning into one of the most elite players in the game, and in my opinion, a superstar in this league. Number 3, I got CP3 right now. Reason being, dude's defensive dynamo. He's impacting an entire organization in the Clippers right now. He is absolutely the face of that franchise. I mean, I don't care what you say about Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan, whatever. It's CP3 and the rest. He makes everybody else look so good. And defensively, he's fantastic. Number 2, look, people can debate this. He's my favorite player. But Russell Westbrook is still number 2 in my opinion, just because of the last 2 to 3 years. Steph Curry has been that guy, and he's stayed that guy. But Steph Curry is still the guy. And until someone really knocks him off his throne, which Russell Westbrook, let me tell you, is right there banging on that throne, Steph Curry right now is still the number 1 point guard in the NBA. Some quick headlines real quick before I introduce Mark. Jimmy Butler is amazing. He scored 50 points in Chicago over the last week. He's the first he scored 50 points, I believe. He 50-plus points the first time since 1997 in Chicago. So since MJ, basically, someone has scored 50 in Chicago. And he's also the 8th player this year to score 50 points in a season, ties the all-time record in NBA history for one season. We got a whole bunch of other topics to get to, but let's introduce Mark. Mark, what's up, man?
What's going on, man? How are you?
Doing good, man. It's just cold. Just cold, as you know.
Did you have Kemba Walker on that list? I wasn't. I know there were some parts doing something else, but
Kemba Walker I had at number 9.
Okay, just making sure. I didn't hear him. I heard Mike, and then I heard number 8. So I was wondering if you had him at 9 or 11.
I had Kemba in there. I have him at number 9.
And I agree with that. I do. I mean, I think that.
Yeah.
I think he can fluctuate a few positions here and there, but he is an outstanding point guard in this league.
Kemba Walker's turning into. He's not on the level of CP3.
Not at all. But I think you have your top, just like the teams. You have your top tier, and your middle guys, and then everybody else. I mean, it is what it is. You have your top 3 or 4 probably. Yep. Probably what I'd say: CP3, Harden, Westbrook, and
I don't have
Kyrie.
I picked on pure point guards. I didn't talk about Harden or LeBron or any of that. I picked pure guys who've been point guards their whole career.
Right. I'm just talking about as far as the top tier of guards, top point guards that play the position of point guard. If that are going to be league leaders in scoring when you look at point guards.
Sure. I think James Harden is the best pure guard in the game. Point guard, shooting guard don't matter right now. James Harden's the best guard in the game.
Yeah, and we talked about this a little bit before we started. I think that I think there's probably maybe a 1A, 1B there.
Sure.
And I think Russell is the best complete all-around guard there is, just from defense, passing, scoring. I mean, he is amazing. I think that Harden does a lot of things really well, but it's not the whole complete package. He struggles on defense. He's improved, but he still struggles on defense. It's great. He's a much improved passer. And I don't know if that's been there all along, the passing, and we just never seen it. I'm not really sure where that came from because it kind of came out of nowhere this year.
Kind of, yeah.
But I think there's maybe like a 1A, 1B there.
Yeah, I might agree with you there, and we'll talk about this a little bit later. Obviously, we're going to have Josh Eberly on the show here in just a moment. But before we go, we have a question of the weekend. As I just talked about my top 10 point guards in the league, who are your top 10 point guards in the NBA? Tag us at NBA Lead or at the Hoopers Log and give us your top 10. Just list a quick, 1 through 10. Just give us nicknames, whatever, Kemba Cat, whatever, CP3, and we'll just have the conversation go from there. We'll be back on the other end with our guest segment with Josh Eberly.
NBA Lead will be your ultimate destination for up-to-the-moment expert commentary on all trending NBA topics and headlines. The digital broadcast network will offer hours of live content, plus more than hundreds of on-demand videos each week. It provides news, highlights, live look-ins, our own analysis, music, and conversations from around the NBA world. Moving at the speed of Twitter, it pushes from headline to headline, topic to topic. When all said and done, NBA Lead will bring the fans what they want, when they want. NBA Lead, for the fans, by the fans. How would you like to get all of your favorite team's merchandise delivered straight to your doorstep? Check out fanessentials.net. All you do is pick your favorite sports team, and every month you get your team's gear shipped straight to your door. They find the sports gear so you don't have to. Each fan box comes packed full with some amazing gear, and it makes a great gift idea for any sports fan. Prices start at just $34.99. Visit fanessentials.net and use promo code NBA Lead at checkout for 15% off your first month. Visit fanessentials.net to get all the essentials you need.
Dear Daddy, dear Mom,
I love you.
I miss you.
Every year, Snowball Express honors the children of fallen soldiers. Hi, everybody. I'm Tony Orlando. Join me in proudly supporting Snowball Express, a nonprofit that creates opportunities to help heal the children of our fallen heroes. We can never repay the sacrifice our soldiers have made, but we can honor them by giving back to their children. Donate now at snowballexpress.org.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and give him a call.
Sounds good.
All right, calling him.
Sounds good.
You do have a update, right? You have a key game.
What's that?
You have key game updates.
Yes, I do. I have everything set up. I'll also do a weekend preview for the NBA. It'll be quick on that. It'll be like 30 seconds.
Okay. Hey, Josh, you with us?
What's that?
Is Josh?
Hey.
Josh, you here?
Yeah, Josh speaking.
Hey,
Hey.
Josh.
Hey,
How's it going?
Josh, it's Chris.
Chris?
Yeah, Chris. I'm the host of the Hoopers Log.
Awesome. Thanks for having me on, Chris.
Yeah, no problem. What we're gonna do is we're gonna jump into our next segment here in a moment, and I wanted to ask you one thing before we jump on and go live. Hoop Mag, is it called Hoop Mag or Hoop Magazine or?
Yeah, Hoop Magazine. So it's it's the NBA's product, and we have like a print issue 4 times a year, and then the site itself.
Okay, I saw that. I saw that it's actually an official publication of the NBA, and I clicked on the link. Is it actually like NBA official? Like they have it on their website and whatnot? Like, is it that real?
Yeah. So I don't know the finer points because I'm in Calgary, and the main office is in New York. But I guess they have a deal with Turner to do it through the NBA.
Oh wow. Okay. Well, I'll talk to you about that a little bit while we're on the air. And it's Josh. It's Eberly, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just wanted to say that right. I don't want to sound like a buffoon on the radio, even though people are watching live on Periscope right now and already know I'm a buffoon. But we will get you on in a moment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to be doing this key game update from the last couple of days, and I'll give the best performances over the last night, and then I'll do a quick weekend preview of what's going to happen over the next, and then I'll introduce you.
Sweet.
All right, sounds good.
Here we go.
Now, your NBA lead update on the latest key games and whiteboard-worthy performances throughout the league.
On Monday, January 2nd, 2017, Chicago beats the Charlotte Hornets 118-111. Orlando, they beat the New York Knicks 115-103. On Tuesday, January 3rd, 2017, Boston beats the Utah Jazz 115-104. Indiana over Detroit 121-116. San Antonio beats Toronto 110-82. The Los Angeles Lakers beat the Memphis Grizzlies 116-102. In the whiteboard performances over the last couple of days, Russell Westbrook with a 52 on the scale, Giannis Antetokounmpo with a 51, Anthony Davis 52, Kemba Walker with a 53, and Jimmy Butler, a star-worthy 85 with that 52-point performance, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 steals in that game in that win over the Charlotte Hornets with the Chicago Bulls. James Harden with a 56, another triple-double there. Eric Bledsoe 51, DeAndre Jordan at 20 rebounds, Draymond Green had a triple-double. Nikola Jokic also with a 50 on Tuesday, January 3rd. Karl Anthony Towns with a 57, Isaiah Thomas with a 63, Reggie Jackson 53, John Wall 50, Willie Reed, the center from the Miami Heat, a 55. He had 22 points, 18 rebounds. Tyson Chandler had 20 rebounds, and Julius Randle with a triple-double. And real quick before we introduce our guest, we have the weekend preview on Thursday. Tonight, on Thursday, January 5th, we have Utah at Toronto, Charlotte at Detroit, Oklahoma City at the Houston Rockets on TNT. Big-time matchup there between Russell Westbrook and James Harden. Friday, January 6, 2017, the Knicks at the Bucks. Memphis at the Warriors. It's on ESPN. I'm going to get my popcorn ready on that one. Saturday, January 7, 2017, the Knicks at the Pacers, Toronto at the Bulls, and then Charlotte at San Antonio, a rematch from about a month ago. And then Sunday, on the 8th of January, Houston at Toronto, Washington at Milwaukee, and Utah at Memphis. And on Monday, don't watch basketball. Watch the national championship in college basketball and college football. All right, Mark, let's go. Show, everybody. Episode 18 here on the show. We have a special guest today. We have Josh Eberly. He's one of the main writers at the Hoop magazine. It's one of those official publications for NBA.com. It's sensational, by the way. They have sensational coverage there. How you been lately, Josh? How you been?
Oh, I've been doing well. Christmas is a good time. New Year's is a good time. False hope. Time for false adjustments. New year, new me. So I'm with the mantra and getting ready.
That's good to hear. What have you been up to lately when it comes to NBA Mag? I mean, I know you've been a key component. How long have you been there?
So I've been there about a year now, I guess, as a contributor for them.
That's sensational. What projects have you been working on lately with them?
Actually, right now I'm working on something for them regarding defensive point guards and ranking defensive point guards, and that's going to be a big combination of panel work. I got a couple of other people working on it with me, and some stats and fun little project. And actually, we just had a print mag come out on Christmas, so I have a couple stories in there, one on the Thunder and Russell Westbrook, and one on the Clippers.
Okay. So when it comes to defensive point guards, who would you rank right now when it comes to who's the best defensive point guard in the game that you've seen through your research and through what you've seen working on projects similar to that?
We're about halfway through the research point of this and putting things together. So I might change my mind. I don't want to spoil the whole order, but
yeah,
Marcus Smart is way up there, and Patrick Beverley's way up there.
Yeah, I was going to say, I bet Patrick Beverley's way up on the list because, I mean, that dude is flat out sensational. I mean, I know that on a national level, not a lot of people have seen him play often. I mean, I understand when Houston and Oklahoma City play on Thursday, they're going to see it again because every single time he plays against Russell Westbrook, he has this extra oomph to him, and he finds a way to he really does shut down Russell in the final 5 minutes of a ball game, doesn't he?
Yeah, absolutely. And he's got that nutcase gene, and that's something that stats don't really account for. But you have it in Beverley, and you had it in a guy like Deshaun Stevenson, where he just gets in the heads of certain stars, and that really does add something to it.
You know, Patrick Beverley is just, I mean, he's one of those guys that I mentioned on my last show about, I think it was episode 16, if I'm not mistaken, the final show before the new year. And the one thing I mentioned was my current active team that I would create. And I put Patrick Beverley on my bench. I said, look, I'm taking him off the bench, and I'm putting him in a closer role of big because I'm having him guard the best point guards in the game. And speaking of the best point guards in the game, I just mentioned my top 10 point guard list in the monologue of the show. I can repeat them for you if you don't mind. I got Mike Conley at 10. I got Kemba Walker 9. Isaiah Thomas at 8. Kyle Lowry at 7. Damian Lillard at 6. John Wall at 5. Kyrie Irving at 4. Chris Paul at 3. And then Russell Westbrook at 2. And Curry I still have at 1, even though he's not the same Curry that we saw in early 2016, all the way till we got to June. So what do you take of that list, and would you change it by any means?
Yeah, I'd bump Kyle Lowry right up to 4. I think Kyle Lowry is one of probably the best other than Chris Paul in that list defensively. He's shooting at just an unreal rate. The Raptors need him at both ends of the court. He plays with the bench unit, and they don't miss a beat. Yeah, Lowry would be 4 for me, but other than that, I don't really have any major qualms with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where when ranking the top 10 for me, it was hard once I got to about, like you mentioned, I mean, you can make a case for guys like Isaiah Thomas, Kyle Lowry, and Damian Lillard. I mean, all three of those guys, especially Isaiah Thomas as of late, all three of those guys have just been sniffing at that top 5 list. It's tough. Like you said, Kyle Lowry has just, and it's not just been, this year. Kyle Lowry has built himself into one of the most productive, superstar level-ish type play. I mean, he's getting to that level where you start to say, is he? I mean, I don't know if he's a superstar, but when it comes to getting close, you got to kind of get past the Kyle Lowry level, because over the last 2+ years, he has turned into one of the most sensational point guards in the game. I mean, like I mentioned in the monologue, he was a guy where, a couple 3 years ago, nobody really had him on their radar. He was just kind of a grinder. He was just kind of another guy. And all of a sudden, he took that extra leap, and out of nowhere, he's turned into him and DeMar DeRozan are now one of the top 2 backcourt, or one of the best backcourts in the NBA. And it's all, I think, really because of the development of Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, Kyle Lowry has absolutely flowered. I mean, this is a guy who he got knocked out of Houston. There was a lot of talk about, he was going to be a low-end starter. He's a little overweight. He wasn't a great shooter. And things have just really come together for him the last few years in Toronto. He's absolutely on fire. He might not be a top 10 player in the NBA. He might not be a superstar, as you said, but he's playing like a top 10 player, and he's been at that level this year especially. And it's a beautiful thing to watch.
Yeah, it really is. I think that's one of the things I love to watch personally when it comes to watching the NBA. I'm a huge Spurs fan. I'm definitely not a homer by any means. I actually don't think my team can win the title. I know they're playing well, but I just don't see it this year with the depth and the feel of the team. It just doesn't seem like a championship-worthy team. But at the same time, I love watching guys really just, like you said, blossom, develop, grow, and improve their game. And one guy that I really wanted to talk with you about is Kawhi Leonard. And again, this is just for me personally, but Kawhi Leonard is a guy that, to me, is all just hard work. I mean, when he came into the league, you saw all the raw gifts that he now currently is just putting out there for display. But prior to him developing to the way he is now, he was a guy who really only had one facet to his game, which is the defensive side of the floor. And outside of that, he has developed his game. I mean, I can't tell you from the time he won the MVP in the finals in 2014 to now, his offensive game has just taken a whole leaps and bounds, a lot like you mentioned with Kyle Lowry. What's your take on Kawhi Leonard over these last couple of seasons with his offensive game and how it's developed?
Yeah, I absolutely love Kawhi Leonard. I do. One of my favorite pieces I've ever written, actually for Hoop last year, probably around this time, was on Kawhi Leonard and just his growth and how great he is beyond the box score stats, and how efficient he is within that offense and how dominant he is defensively. But you go back to that finals in 2014 when the Spurs win, and there was a lot of narrative that was pumped that, he outplayed LeBron, and that's why the Spurs won. And I mean, that wasn't really true, but he did enough that it was noticeable. And even at that time, I didn't have any idea that he would be this good. Even when he, challenged the King on the biggest stage in the world, I kind of thought, yeah, if this guy becomes a plus on offense and he's as good as he is on defense, great for the Spurs. But he's totally come into his own as a franchise player. Another guy's a top 10 player in the league. Just fantastic at both ends.
Yeah, and it's sensational, like you said. I mean, I have a list of superstars that you just kind of rattle off in your brain, like Steph Curry, LeBron, Kevin Durant, Anthony Davis, DeMarcus Cousins, guys like that. You just rattle them off, and all of a sudden, I always say there's like 8 automatic, and I always leave out one guy when I rattle off all the names. And Kawhi Leonard you're just like, yeah, you can't forget him. I think he's now an official superstar in this game. I mean, when you win MVP in the finals like he did against a guy like LeBron, and then you improve your offense to the level that you have on top of winning back-to-back Defensive Player of the Year, it's just absolutely sensational seeing his development in the league. But we're coming up here on the midway portion of the season here in about a week and a half. It's crazy how fast the NBA regular season has gone to this point. It's already been 2+ months in the season, and we're heading up on the halfway mark. Josh, what are some of the things that you've seen so far to this point, leading into the midway portion of the season that have caught you off guard or sparked your interest, or just what have you seen so far to this point in the season that you've just been like, wow, or just been kind of like, whoa?
That's a good question. I think there were some early surprises that caught me off guard. I thought the Bulls would be horrible from the start, and they started off really well. Now they're falling back down to earth. But, I mean, the season's kind of gone, not to toot my own horn, but I think a lot of people, saw that Cleveland, Golden State were going to be far and ahead of everybody. I think the Spurs playing as well as they have without Tim Duncan, where everyone kind of thought they'd step back.
Yeah.
The fact that they continue to win and win and win has impressed me. Not necessarily that I didn't expect them to be good, but I thought this would be the year that maybe the Clippers hopped up to the 2 seed or something like that. But the Spurs just keep fighting. Props to Pop and props to Kawhi Leonard for that.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you. I mean, from the beginning of the season, I expected the Spurs to be good. Don't get me wrong, but I didn't expect them to have 27 wins, 35 games into the year, 28 wins, 35 games into the year. I thought they'd be like, like you said, like where the Memphis Grizzlies are, 6th, 7th seed, kind of hang around and just get into the playoffs and develop. They're still a legit force in the West, and that's, like you said, credit to Pop, credit to the organization. And I'm telling you, as a Spurs fan myself, I'm spoiled, man. This stuff, like these fans, they take this for granted in San Antonio. I talk to some every once in a while, and they're like, oh, yeah, we're just going to win 50 again. I'm like, you recognize that we've done this for like 20 years, and all of a sudden you're just like, oh, yeah, we're going to win 50 again. No, 50 wins is like ridiculous in the NBA, and doing it every single year is absolutely sensational. And you're right. Kudos go to Greg Popovich and the rest of them. But like you said, between Golden State and the Cleveland the last couple years, it's been great. What's your take so far on this between Golden State and Cleveland and how they've kind of just dominated the league the last 2 years?
Yeah, like real quick note on the Spurs still too that you were talking about.
Sure.
It's not even 50. I mean, they could legitimately win 60 games again, which is bonkers. Winning 60 games any year is bonkers. But to win in a year where you're supposed to finally step back, in a year where, LaMarcus Aldridge hasn't really been that impressive. Most people don't even think Tony Parker's a starter for a lot of teams, but they're winning these games. I mean, that's huge, huge, huge. I mean, when you go to Golden State and Cleveland, I think it's gone pretty much exactly how people planned on it. The Warriors blew that one on opening night, and everyone was ready to hit the panic button, but that was really just the voice deep in their head hoping, these fans of the Grizzlies and these fans of the Raptors and these fans of the Celtics, that the way wasn't closed, that the door wasn't shut. But this Warriors team is every bit as good as people hypothesized, and I don't even think they've hit their stride yet. I really don't. I mean, we're 30-something games in. Wait till after the All-Star break, and wait for these Warriors down the stretch coming into the playoffs, and you're really going to see how scary these guys are.
I think the one thing for me, though, and I wanted to ask you this before we get you out of here, the one thing for me when it comes to the Golden State Warriors, and it worries me moving forward. I think they're, like you said, I think they're definitely a top 5 team in the NBA, and probably number 1 as of right now, obviously with the most wins and whatnot. But the one thing that worries me, and this is the same thing that worries me about the Spurs, it's a little different for the Spurs because they're younger and they're just not, from the standpoint of their bench. The Golden State Warriors passed their 7th man off the bench, which is either Sean Livingston or Andre Iguodala, depending upon what side of the bed they wake up. It is a very, very mediocre, if not below average portion of their bench. I mean, if you have David West as your 8th option off the bench, which as a Spurs fan, I can tell you he's washed up. He's not the same guy. He's just a grinder at this point. You're looking pretty bleak at that point. Do you feel like that's an issue for the Golden State Warriors, or do you feel like that's just something that they're going to find a way to get through and still grind in the postseason?
Yeah, I don't think the door's shut on them making a deal before the deadline and adding another piece there. I agree their bench isn't beautiful, but in the same breath, I mean, they've got real solid contributions out of JaVale McGee, which is hilarious. But they have, and he stepped in when Zaza Pachulia was hurt, and he does a lot of things on offense in space where he doesn't need the ball. On defense, he does protect the rim to some extent. Andre Iguodala has slowed down a little bit. Sean Livingston slowed down a little bit, but they're both still good players. Ian Clark has shown things at times. I wouldn't rule them out adding another piece, but I think it's not putrid to the point where it's a total liability. I mean, they're going to have bad nights, they're going to have good nights, but that bench isn't bad enough to sink them in a series.
All right. Yeah, I felt like I wanted to ask someone who knows way more about basketball than I do, because I felt like, it's just one of those things where they're I mean, again, starting lineup sensational, but their bench, I still have questions, but I agree with you. If they make a move, then I agree with you, and I think they're solid from there on forth. Josh, thank you again for coming on the show. We appreciate it. We'd love to have you on at some point later on down the road when we get closer to the playoffs. How about it?
Absolutely. Give me a holler.
Absolutely. Thank you, Josh. Josh Eberle from Hoop Magazine on NBA.com. We'll be back on the other side.
I'm expressing with my full capabilities, and now I'm living in correction.
Whether it's a monster dunk,
LeBron James with no regard for human life.
an insane shot,
Westbrook. You gotta be kidding.
the greatest block of all time,
Back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James.
or another crazy Curry dagger.
Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry.
The Lead has you covered. Go to NBALead.com now.
In sports, 5 games were featured in hockey action last week.
Every year, millions of people rely on portable generators when they lose access to electricity. But some of them don't understand that a portable generator's carbon monoxide emissions can kill if their generators are used indoors. So we're here to clear the air. Always take your generator outside, away from windows and doors. When you take it outside, you distance yourself from the dangers of carbon monoxide. For more safety tips, visit TakeYourGeneratorOutside.com.
Dear Daddy, dear Mom, I love you. I miss you.
Every year, Snowball Express honors the children of fallen soldiers. Hi, everybody. I'm Tony Orlando. Join me in proudly supporting Snowball Express, a nonprofit that creates opportunities to help heal the children of our fallen heroes. We can never repay the sacrifice our soldiers have made, but we can honor them by giving back to their children. Donate now at snowballexpress.org.
NBA Lead will be your ultimate destination for up-to-the-moment expert commentary on all trending NBA topics and headlines. The digital broadcasting network will offer hours of live content, plus more than hundreds of on-demand videos each week. It provides news, highlights, live look-ins, our own analysis, music, and conversations from around the NBA world. Moving at the speed of Twitter, it pushes from headline to headline, topic to topic. When all said and done, NBA Lead will bring the fans what they want, when they want. NBA Lead, for the fans, by the fans.
Welcome back, everybody. It is Thursday, January 5th, 2017, episode 18 here on the Hoopers Log on NBALead.com, through iTunes, Stitcher, and on Periscope if you're watching live, or on YouTube also as well if you were watching live. I thought Josh was pretty fun there, Mark.
Yeah, I was good. It was very very insightful. Yeah, it was a good guest. I liked it. I liked it a lot.
You brought up some good points. I felt some pretty logical, straightforward, good stuff. I mean, I like to have him on sometime. I feel like he's one of those guys where I feel like as I was talking to him, where I was like, man, I want to ask him like loaded playoff questions, but we're just not quite there yet.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it was It was interesting to hear what he had to say about how the NBA is kind of shaped up. I mean, and he was kind of right on the money with a lot of those things. As how the Bulls, we thought they would be terrible, and they kind of weren't, but now they are. And I've said this before, and I'll say it again: regression to the mean in the NBA is a real thing, and it happens. Whether you think it does or not. I mean, if there's people are on a hot streak, they're on a hot streak. Averages, the law of averages, averages are averages for a reason. So if your guy shoots a bunch, he's going to usually fall back to what he averages and normally does. So I thought his thoughts about the NBA and how they shaped it were right on the money.
I thought it was pretty good. I enjoyed him a lot, and we'll definitely get him on the show later on. I liked his opinion about Kyle Lowry. So that was the thing I was talking about with him, that when I was writing my list of top 10 point guards in the league between Isaiah Thomas, Kyle Lowry, and Damian Lillard, I was like, man, I can guarantee you right now that there are going to be people that are going to blow me up on Twitter that say, oh, Isaiah Thomas, Lowry, and Lillard, they're all crazy. Look, the last couple of years they have flip-flopped dramatically, and I'm going to tell you, Lowry could easily be number 6 on that list. Lowry could easily be 5 on that list, or even 4. Like Josh said, he's been sensational, but it's hard for me to put anybody above John Wall when you got John Wall, who's been doing what he's been doing the last 4 years. He hasn't changed. If anything, he's just been the same guy.
No, I agree with that. I mean, and that's the thing about some of these guys. Like I mentioned earlier, when it was kind of like 1A, 1B, it's kind of the same way with a lot of these guys. I mean, they can be, 2-3 spots above what you kind of think, and then 2-3 spots below, and you can kind of be like, all right, I could see that. Like, you can make a case for that. I mean, there are very rare situations where there's a guy and he's, it's number 1, number 2, number 3, and then that's pretty much everybody agrees on, and that's it. I mean, so I'm kind of jaded by Kyle Lowry since I saw a lot when I saw a lot of his young career, and he wasn't very good.
Yeah.
And Memphis, and I wouldn't say gave up on him, but they chose Mike Conley instead of Kyle Lowry. But what he's become is impressive. I mean, there's nothing short of it. He's amazing, and can take over the game in any night, any situation. I will agree with you. For me, if I'm picking John Wall though. Like if I had to pick between those two, I'm picking John Wall every time. I think. Every single time.
Yeah, and you mentioned Mike Conley, and I put him on at 10, and I actually forgot when I was writing down my point guard list that I was going to write down for a top 10. I forgot because Conley is so good and so consistent that it's like, why? How can you not put him in the top 10? So I put him at 10 because it's just common sense. But guys I left off that I was just like, oh, it's so hard. Guys like Eric Bledsoe, Reggie Jackson. I know Derrick Rose has not been great as of late, and I know he's been hurt, but he's still a great player. I mean, the list of point guards, I think top 10 is pretty solid. But outside of that, when you get to top 15, that's when it's like, I mean, at that point, you're almost just throwing darts at a board trying to figure out who to pick.
No, I agree. I mean, I think Eric Bledsoe, Reggie Jackson, those guys are, like I said, they're probably the next tier down. Yeah. I think Eric Bledsoe's not as good as the people we've mentioned before.
Sure.
But there are a lot of guys that are really quality, that are quality point guards but they're not the elite like we normally think of. They're not in the conversation that whenever you talk about the top point guards, it takes you a minute to get to Eric Bledsoe. If you're going to if I'm going to start listing all the point guards that I would take as a franchise to start building around, it's going to take me a minute to get to Eric Bledsoe, and especially Reggie Jackson. I'm not a fan of Reggie Jackson. I don't really care for him, but that's just my opinion. But it takes me a minute. I love Eric Bledsoe, but it would still take me a minute to get to him, and so I think that's kind of where the difference is in your, I would say, top 10, your top tier guards, point guards, and then you have your middle tier, and then you have your people who should not be playing point guard. People should not be playing point guard at all, but teams can't find any better options. So,
yeah, and I mentioned how Derrick Rose could potentially be in that top 10, and it's fascinating as we kind of shift over to the Bulls. Excuse me, not the Bulls, but Derrick Rose played on the Bulls. He was sensational. But when we talk about the New York Knicks, I don't know if you heard, but Jeff Hornacek got a little frustrated when Carmelo Anthony called his own number again. And I want to preface this. I've always been an absolute supporter of Melo's individual with the ball basketball skills. Away from that, he is he's not a bonehead, but for the most part, he feels like that is what carries him and makes him great sometimes. And sometimes it just shoots his own team in the foot. It's frustrating to see when he does that because he's so gifted with the basketball.
I wouldn't say sometimes. I would say like most of the time because he is good. He's very good. Yeah. Individually, I mean, one-on-one, he'd beat most anybody. But that's the problem is that he doesn't realize that it's not a one-on-one game, and he doesn't get that. And so I completely understand. I think I saw the video when he called his own number, and Hornacek just basically turned around and was like, I give up here because I'm calling plays, and if you're why even do this? If I'm going to call plays on the sideline and you're going to go up there and change a play, what am I even doing here? And that's probably the feeling a lot of coaches have had going through going through New York is you have someone like Melo there, and yes, he's great, but at what point do you realize that may be not helping? I mean, that may be detriment to the team. You being great is awesome, but what you're doing is a detriment to what we're trying to do here. And so that's what the organization as a whole for the Knicks have to probably decide. Is Melo worth what he does on the court? Is he worth that? I mean, is his, you look at money, what he does to the team morale, all that stuff, the coach's headache, is he worth what you're gonna get out of him? And so I don't know. Is the outcome worth the headache? At this point, I would say no, because you haven't given me any reason to believe that it would be. You know what I mean? So it's like that age-old thing. Like, you've done the same thing over and over. Why would I believe you're going to do something different? For as long, so going back to the Nuggets. I mean, not even in New York. And so, if I'm Hornacek, I'm like, look, he's probably worth a lot of money in trade. Not a lot of money, but money and value in other players. Give me somebody I can teach. When he saw with that Suns team with Hornacek, he had multiple players. He had young players, and he did an amazing job with them. So if you're him, you're kind of like, look, just give me somebody I can work with because I can't work with this. So I get it, man. I totally get it. And I think that he's probably, I wouldn't say going to be gone because I don't think the organization is going to want that. But if it were me, I would probably trade him, or I would see what I would at least see what I could get for him.
It almost begs the question, when George Karl ripped Melo in his book, it almost makes you think. Now, granted, you don't go as in-depth as George Karl did, but it almost makes you think maybe he had a point to some things, when it came to Melo as a person.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like I said, he's awesome, but is that going to get you where you want to go long term? Yeah. And I don't think so. I don't think what you have on the floor with him and the teammates is going to get you where you want to be in even 3 or 4 years now, even 2 years from now. Yeah, so you have a coach that can teach young players. You have a coach that can develop young players.
Yeah.
And I say all that. I know that the organization is not going to trade him. They're not going to get rid of him.
They can't. Yeah.
They can't. I mean, the public would. I mean, the average fan would see that as just a slap in the face.
Yeah,
to get rid of the superstar. But I don't know how you take what he's doing and make that a positive situation. Because you can only say, because I guarantee you Hornacek's already told him, like, look, stop. Like, I can guarantee you in a private conversation, he has told them in not so simple words that, look, you calling your own play is not good for us. Run the plays, run the sets we have, we'll score the ball. We're going to get you in your spots. We're going to get you in a spot for you to score. But let's go through the action first. Whatever they're going to run, whether it's horns, floppy, whenever they come up to the ball, let the action run first and then get the ball. And guess what? You're probably going to get the ball and you're probably going to be wide open. You don't have to work for those shots. You can just shoot it and make it. So I don't know. I think Jeff Hornacek's got a lot of work to do, a lot of uphill battle to do with Melo, and I don't know if it's going to pay off for him.
Yeah, and it's street ball mentality by Melo, and he grew up in New York. He grew up there. That's the mentality. That's how it is out in the streets. The problem is that Melo is a one-trick pony. That's all he does, and that's all he'll ever do. And he's lived his life that way. He's living the life the way he wants, and he's done it at a level where he's won in college. So it's almost as if he won at New York and did something in Syracuse, which is already giant enough as it is as a basketball place. And he won there. He feels like he can do it in the NBA too. So that's his mentality, and that's who he is. So, that's the point there. But speaking of teams that are actually successful, the Golden State Warriors, they're the first team to get to 30 wins this year in the NBA. Not a shocker there from that standpoint. But as I mentioned earlier, Steph Curry's numbers have dropped. He's now averaging only just a shade under 24 points, 4 rebounds, and a shade under 6 assists a game. I mentioned that earlier, but also Kevin Durant is bashing the media again. Why is this guy taking shots at the media, even though, look, he's playing. Look, I don't know why Kevin Durant needs to even talk to the media. He's like the Slim Reaper. He is killing it out there on the basketball court right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a product of the environment, because every day you have to go through the situation where you have to answer questions. People are going to talk to you about different things, and more importantly, they're going to try to get a quote out of you, because that's what today's media is. There's so many people in the media, if you will, whatever you want to call it, that want to get a story and want to get it first. They're just trying to get him a quote. I don't really think there's anything to this. I mean, Kevin Durant's kind of always been like that, though. I mean, he's always been a pretty straight shooter when it comes to the media. So this doesn't really surprise me. And again, it's really just about someone trying to get a story. That's kind of what's kind of like clickbait on a website. Yep. It's kind of like a bad headline. That's all I think that is.
You know who definitely put himself out there and said, "I don't give a rip," is Jay Crowder.
Oh my gosh, that was great. That was
good Lord.
But you know what? He's right though. He's not wrong. That's the problem. He's totally right, and he's totally in the right to say all this. It's just that no other player is saying it, because he's just basically like, F it, I'll leave. I ain't got no problems being here. Because guess what? Everybody's gonna pay me. I have no problems. I have no problems leaving. So I think it's great. It's refreshing to see a player, whether on Twitter or social media, Facebook, whatever. It's refreshing to see someone say, you know what? This doesn't matter. If you're gonna treat me like an a-hole, F it. I'll just go somewhere else. Because guess what? There's a ton of other teams that want to have me play for them, not just the Celtics. So I thought it was awesome. And by the way, did you see last night Swaggy P, Nick Young, first of all, he torched the Grizzlies. I don't know if you saw this, but when he hit one of his threes, he started thrusting in midair. I'm not kidding you, he shot it. Okay, he shoots it. It probably he not even to the goal yet. He just starts thrusting open air. Right, maybe 5 or 6 times, and then just nails it and run down the court. I was like, man, I want to live my life like Nick Young lives his life. I mean, seriously, right? If you live your life going through life living like Swaggy P does, you're gonna have a good time. I guarantee that. I don't know if it was fantastic. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. It's worth it, every bit.
Listen to Mark's advice on checking out Swaggy P's lifestyle on the basketball court. He is a nut job. Look, Josh Everly brought it up when it came to Patrick Beverley with the nutcase syndrome. That is Nick Young on a daily basis. Before we get out of here. Absolutely. What's that?
I said absolutely. That's Nick Young all over, every day.
When you name yourself Swaggy P, you got a nutcase syndrome all by itself. Before we go to our Take 5 segment on the other side, I wanted to give you a quick college basketball update over the last week or so. I'm telling you, people, you're seeing it all by yourself. The last couple of days, Kansas barely beat Kansas State. Texas Tech beat West Virginia in overtime, unranked. Unranked Texas Tech beat West Virginia. That Big 12, that Big 12 is catching up again, doing like it always does. Also, Villanova, they crushed Creighton over the weekend. Duke and North Carolina got absolutely obliterated by ACC opponents. The ACC is upside down. Duke lost by 14 to Virginia Tech, and Georgia Tech beat North Carolina by 12 points. This is a year where, like I've said over and over, the top 40 needs to be introduced in college basketball. We're seeing teams that we just know they came out of nowhere. Well, they're probably pretty good. We just don't know it because the ranking system is so narrow that you can't tell. Look, when you have USC in the newest ranking of Week 9 of the college basketball world at number 25, and they're 14-1, you've got a problem with your ranking system. You need to widen it out and give us a perspective that we can understand. It's ridiculous how narrow it is. Let me read off the top 10 for you on the newest poll ranking. Villanova's still in there. They're undefeated at 14-0 at number 1. Baylor's jumped up to number 2 because, again, the Big 12 is just crazy. Kansas at number 3. UCLA at 4. Gonzaga at 5. Kentucky dropped to 6. West Virginia at 7. Duke at 8. They dropped as well. Louisville also dropped to number 9. Creighton at 10. Virginia 11. Florida State is at 12. Wisconsin 13. North Carolina dropped all the way to 14. And Oregon 15. Xavier 16. Arizona 17. Butler at 18. St. Mary's 19. Purdue 20. And then Virginia Tech jumped up because of their win over Duke. Cincinnati jumped up. Notre Dame jumped up. Florida jumped up. And Indiana fell all the way to 25. It's crazy out there. And also, Duke doesn't look like they're going to get any better with Coach K being out 4 weeks. And it looks like Grayson Allen is going to be back as well. There's a lot going on in college basketball. We'll talk more, obviously, throughout the year, and there's some more college basketball games coming up this weekend. I'll tell you what, that Big East is starting to come back around. But again, be back on the other side. Mark and I will have our Take 5 segment, our first Take 5 segment of the 2017 year. We'll be back.
How would you like to get all of your favorite team's merchandise delivered straight to your doorstep? Check out fanessentials.net. All you do is pick your favorite sports team, and every month you get your team's gear shipped straight to your door. They find the sports gear so you don't have to. Each fan box comes packed full with some amazing gear, and it makes a great gift idea for any sports fan. Prices start at just $34.99. Visit fanessentials.net and use promo code NBALEAD at checkout for 15% off your first month. Visit fanessentials.net to get all the essentials you need.
Welcome back, everybody. Again, episode 18 here, January 5th, 2017. iTunes, Stitcher, NBALead.com. That's where we're at. That's where we are. And we're on Periscope as well. If you want to check us out live, obviously we're there as well. We're going to fly through this Take 5 segment. We try to get in and out as quick as we can here with these questions. It's what we do. It's Take 5 segment with Mark and I. We fly through topics and give you quick hitter answers in a 24 seconds or less time slot. Mark, are you ready to do the first one of the year?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. First question. Is Jimmy Butler a superstar?
Whoa. Oh, that's a hot question. I think Jimmy Butler is playing sensational as of late. I think he is creeping up. Obviously, the 52-point performance was sensational, but I don't think he's there yet. He's definitely jumping and reaching up to that, but he's not quite there yet.
I think there's a difference between superstar and star, which I don't think a lot of people define very often.
Yes.
And I will say he's a star.
Yes.
But he's not a superstar. Superstars, there's probably 3 or 4 in the league, and that's it. So I'm going to say he's a star, not a superstar. Next question. Are the bottom 3 teams in the East done? Miami, Brooklyn, Philadelphia.
Yeah, they were done back in June when the draft started. These teams had no shot at the beginning of this, especially when Miami knew that Chris. Have you seen this on NBA 2K? They qualified Chris Bosh's injury as a collapsed lung. How messed up is that?
Yeah, I've seen that.
But Chris Bosh, knowing when he went out, you kind of figured that Miami, Brooklyn, and Philly were going to be off.
No, I agree. And then Miami just lost. I just saw this on Twitter while we were talking. Justice Winslow is done for the year. So
yeah,
Miami is also even more done than they probably already were. Philadelphia's been done forever. And that's so strange because, like we talked before, Philadelphia's got a lot of individually good players. I don't understand that team at all. I never understood it, but I digress. Question 3. Can James Harden average a triple-double?
Well, when you look at his stats, actually, this is a real question. I believe he's averaging 28, 8, and 11, almost 12 assists a game. All he's got to do is play a little bit more. He's just got to play a little bit closer to the basket and hope bounces go his way. I know he's not as aggressive as Russell Westbrook when it comes to the rebounding category, but if he does that, I think he can. Offensively, he's playing sensational, passing the ball, scoring. He's just playing unbelievable. I'm
going to say no, and that's not because I hate James Harden, because I do.
Sure.
But I just don't think he's the rebounder, a quality enough rebounder. He leaks out a lot in transition. He doesn't go for offensive rebounds. So I'm just going to say no, just for the simple fact that I don't think he's that good of a rebounder. I think he's Russell is light years ahead of him as far as rebounding, as rebounding as a guard is concerned. Question 4: How cold is it? How cold is it where you live?
Well, the other day. Okay, so this is a crazy story, real quick, because I know it's quick. I know it's a quick hitter thing. We have a river out here, the Puyallup River. It's literally about 30 minutes south of Seattle. It's right by where I work. There were people, as I was going to lunch today, who were saying they had never seen the Puyallup River freeze over and see chunks of ice going down the river. That's how cold it is here in the Pacific Northwest. It is bonkers cold. I think it's like 20 with wind chill. I think the other day it was like 15 with wind chill. It's crazy.
I'm in Memphis, so it never really gets that cold here. So I guess I get a product of the environment. I think today was like 35, which is, by the way, is freezing to me. I think that's really cool. I would never survive where you live, but I think 35 was like super cold. But no, I think it's been like, it's supposed to snow. It's supposed to flurry this weekend, so we'll see. Everybody run, get your milk and bread. It's going to be crazy. Question 5, have you taken down your Christmas tree yet?
I have not taken down my Christmas tree yet, and that's because the significant other in the other room, she's like, I'm going to wait until I feel like it. All right, honey, whatever. That's kind of how I feel, so not yet.
My wife is we love Christmas in this house, but my wife puts up Christmas decorations before anybody. I'm talking like probably, I think we put them up maybe before Thanksgiving this year, but she's the first. She's the first one to take them up. She's the first one to take them down. I think the Christmas tree came down. I want to say last week, or no, maybe this weekend. But yes, it's already down. Christmas lights are down. It's over, man. It's another year.
Yeah, just another year. That's what I do. What I usually do is like Black Friday. I'm like, all right, let's put the Christmas tree up, and then after Black Friday, then once New Year's Day comes, I'm like, we got it. We have to put it down. It's over. It's over. All the holidays are done. That's our show for the day. Episode 18 is in the books. Episode 19 will be on January 10th, 2017 on Tuesday. Yes, Tuesday, January 10th, 2017. Follow us on social media at NBA Lead and at the Hoopers Log, which is the main one for this show. And stay up to date everything NBA and catch all those whiteboard-worthy performances that are up on a daily basis. Follow myself at The Real Chris M13 and Mark at King_producer to keep in contact with us. And listen into our next show again next Tuesday will be our next show. Have a good one, everybody. Enjoy the weekend and stay warm out there.
This has been the NBA Lead Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at NBA Lead. Find us on the web at NBALead.com or on iTunes.